Hi everyone, I am Deb Lemire, President of ASDA 2009 to 2012. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this very important conversation. Dana sent me some guidelines of what she would like me to share, so I'm going to do my best to meet those guidelines. My first exposure to ASDA was in 2006 at the Sheep's Barn here in Cleveland, Ohio, right in my backyard. ASDA at the time was just forming. It was restructuring from a previous incarnation. And at the end of the weekend, those of us interested in helping with this restructuring to take it to the next steps got together and talked about what those next steps might be. And I volunteered to take notes, and then was the secretary of the first official board of directors for ASDA. Veronica and I were then charged with drafting the bylaws for the organization. And then I served on the leadership team from that point forward in one capacity or another until the end of my third term as president in 2012. I would say my main priority during my term was to help ASDA raise its profile. During my term as vice president just prior, we had teamed up with NAFA. We went to DC to take that Hayes message there. We went and met with our congressman, etc., because the Health Care Reform Act was coming to the table. So as my first term began, we started following up on that effort. And then in February of 2010, the Let's Move campaign was launched by Michelle Obama. This, of course, generated a whole lot of media hysteria. You know, a lot of people running around with their hair caught on fire. Oh my God, save the children, save the children. So the leadership team decided to develop tools to address the onslaught of rhetoric that our members might be getting as a result of this new campaign. Resources that our members could pull from quickly to grab that research on health and weight and be able to use that as a tool as they addressed it in their organizations and communities. The Health at Every Size fact sheet is an example of that. It's still on our website. And a lot of other resources along the way would be added and tweaked as they came to the table. We participated at that time very heavily in HARO, the Help a Reporter. It was a listserv that reporters would go to for experts on different subjects. And when they were looking for an expert on health and weight, we tried to match them up with a Health at Every Size professional so that perspective could be included in the whatever coverage that they were doing. We wrote a lot of letters, several to Michelle Obama. We wrote some white papers. We encouraged our members to draft their own elevator speech, so they could succinctly, in 5 or 6 sentences, say what their work was and how Health at Every Size had influenced it. In 2010, we added to the board a position of Vice President International because our international membership was growing. We expanded the capacity of our website. We added Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We developed marketing materials, the brochure for membership brochure, the membership cards, the Hayes cards. We're trying to create this consistent look for ASDA so that it was recognizable, so that whenever you saw that series of stripes in green and my favorite baby poop color green and teal, you would say, that's ASDA. And that's what we were trying to work on. We created a short video, an introductory video on ASDA. It was sort of an impromptu thing that we did after a conference in San Francisco. We were all hanging out at Dana's house afterwards having dinner. It was a very fun time, and that served us for a couple of years to sort of show what ASDA was all about. In 2011, we actively started scouting for events that ASDA could participate in, whether it was by tabling, by putting information, in bags that people take home at a conference, or purchasing an ad, etc., that type of thing. Whether it was in, an allied organization or the enemy camp, it didn't matter. We wanted to get out there as much as possible. We created materials for these events. You've probably seen the freestanding banner with the kids on it. That was very powerful, had a really big impact on people that saw that. Our quarterly newsletter that we had been generating gave way to the ASDA blog, and that is still going strong, as you know. For about 1 year during the time of my service as president, we sent out press releases once a month to really get our name out there. If whatever issue might be in the news at the time associated with health and weight, we issued some sort of statement. We worked really hard to let people know we were here. And we were popping up on Google alerts right and left, and we had a big jump in our membership during that time. I would have to say that probably the most challenging thing for the membership during my term as president would have been the trademarking of Health at Every Size. It was a long process. The leadership team, and particularly a subcommittee of very dedicated individuals, worked very, very hard on to make happen. And in May of 2011, we had secured that trademark. There were many difficult conversations around the idea of trademarking Health at Every Size. Most of the conversations remained civil, but our purpose for seeking the trademark was to avoid the phrase health at every size being co-opted by the diet industry, which is something that those of us in this work, we know is a legitimate concern. But for many, and understandably so, there was this fear that it was going to somehow prevent them from doing the work that they had come to love so much. Many thought that they had to be an ASDA member in order then to use the phrase health at every size. Many thought that they would no longer be able to do it. So many people had been working with the health at every size paradigm well before ASDA was established that it didn't seem right to them that all of a sudden we owned this phrase in some way. We worked really hard to reassure Hays professionals that we were doing it on behalf of the greater Health at Every Size community. And at the time, ASDA was the only organization in the position to actually secure the trademark. It's no longer a concern, at least I hope it isn't, and that's awesome. But it was a big change at the time. When change happens, people become afraid that they're going to lose something very important to them, something very personal. You know, working on issues of body diversity, of privilege and oppression and discrimination is hard because you usually don't get to the other side. You don't get to the, oh, we've got it, we finished it, we've wrapped it up, it's no longer an issue. It's not going to happen. There's always going to be more to work on. So it can take its toll on people. So when you tell them that you're going to change something, it's scary. They're afraid. They're going to lose something of this work that they have done so much of. You know, I don't think anyone comes to this table without their own baggage, without their own personal and too often painful experiences. And the fact that we even come to the table in the first place speaks to our tremendous courage and the desire for change. But there's that fear that makes us want to hold on tightly to the way it is right now, just in case. Even when we know we need to let go of that in order to move forward. A lot of change happened during the 3 years that I served as president of ASDA, and I was good with that. That's the way I roll. We were making progress, and I was willing to run beside it as fast as I could to try to keep up. But as a leadership team, we were not immune to that same fear of loss. And as my 3rd year came to an end, it was very clear to me that I was no longer the right person to serve as president of the organization. I could no longer affect change without that fear paralyzing our team. Fortunately, we had on our team the perfect person to pick up the baton and take us forward in Fall Ferguson, and she has done an amazing job. And now I see Carmen Cool is stepping up to the plate, and that's going to be super exciting. Seeing her work that she's done in Boulder, ASDA can only get stronger, and I'm really excited to see that. So, my lovely Asdonians. I wish you well as you embark on these important conversations. And I hope that you keep in mind that although we may not always agree on how we express or explore or execute the health at every size approach, we all agree that bodies of all shapes and sizes, colors, and abilities are worthy of respect and dignity. And that is what makes us colleagues. And despite our differences, we continue to work together to make necessary change. And that is what makes us family. Thank you all for your work. I am truly sorry to miss you in person. I miss you, my friends. Hula hoop for me, please. I look forward to the positive change that's going to come from these next important conversations.